Hey, this is Alex, aka Radio Runner on Instagram. Welcome to my channel where I help you guys learn how to become more effective artists. Today is a fun video. We're going to be going over a review and looking back on all of the work that I did for Brainstorm WB2 or World Building 2 with Kenny Vo. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Brainstorm is an art school in California, traditionally a brick and mortar school only, but since the pandemic occurred, they've gone online, which has been in some ways great opportunities for artists like myself who don't live nearby to learn from fantastic artists who give their time through the school. Because of the circumstances around Brainstorm and them being newly online for only about a year so far, I figured it'd be a pretty cool thing to give a review and my thoughts over one of their classes since I've gone ahead and taken it. So here's a look at Brainstorm's site. On it, they have all sorts of different things available. They've got different scholarships that they run, as well as classes that are targeted towards foundations, film and concept art, animation, and online-only classes called Storms. In this little trailer that Brainstorm put together a while ago, it was back when they were physical only. And I think that'd be pretty cool, but of course, not all of us can make it out that far or stay there that long. I think the courses are usually 10 weeks, as opposed to like CGMA, for instance, doing 8 weeks. But the school itself is big on doing large, kind of intimate class sessions, so maybe 15 students in a class, and we all hop on together into like a Zoom meeting, and we participate, present our projects, and treat each other as peers and help critique and build up on skills as we learn. Here's the example of the WB2 page for World Building 2. There are different instructors. Mickey Kamua and Kenny Vo I know have been around. We're flipping through some of their personal work. Here is Kenny. He has a very distinct style that he can go to. And when picking a course for Brainstorm, I would recommend that you get to know the instructor before signing up for a class. So if they have any sort of online presence, that's how you should be determining whether you want to take it or not. Because after talking with other students who have been in the other classes with different instructors, the course material actually varies basically by the instructor. So if you want to learn from somebody like Kenny, take his class. But if you want to learn from Mickey or whoever else is available, that would be the preferred route for you there. So basically, don't take it all entirely as gospel. Instead, kind of plan your own curriculum and go into it knowing what to look for. Kenny Vo himself is a radically good artist. I mean, just obscene. And he's worked for Sony, Blizzard, Riot. He worked underneath James Peck at his freelance studio ScribblePad, and right now he's currently located at Netflix Animation. And what really drew me to him was his ability to switch between styles on a whim. He has incredible range, and I thought, oh my god, I've got to learn from him. And I can tell you, learning with Kenny was a very rewarding experience. Kenny himself is more than willing to offer his time and help those who put the time in. So if you go in and you give your 100%, Kenny will notice that and he will return the favor for it. He had gone so far as offered to provide some time outside of class for some students and work on us a little bit more intently. His work is really just stellar, and after even just 6 years in the industry, it's amazing. He's absolutely pro. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the various assignments that we covered with Kenny. Brainstorm classes are usually handled on a 10-week basis. And so you start the class, you go through, typically you'll have a midterm, and then you'll prep up until the final week where you have guest instructors who come in and critique as a second-hand opinion besides just Kenny. The first week, Kenny assigned us 100 3-value film studies to do. And yes, you heard that right. It was within 7 days, we had to make 100 of these. So very quickly you learned, holy crap, I've got to work quick, I've got to be efficient, I don't have time to worry about details, which was the point of the assignment. So if you're trying to create a competent image, which is what Kenny was getting us to do, you have to isolate and bring your images down to the bare minimum of what creates the value read. So when you look at an image, you can instantly get the point because there's proper contrast telling you what is where. It can be a hard thing to do to not get wrapped up in details and only stay concerned with major masses of light and various values. But after doing 100 of them, things kind of click halfway through, about around number 50, and you're like, oh yeah, Okay, so let's just isolate this down. Let's quickly draw it out. The efficiency kind of sets in and you're off to the races. In week 2, we were tasked with relighting the same scene that we painted 3 times over. That was a good exercise as well because it was essentially stretching our ability to focus on that 3-value read that we did in week 1 and apply it in multiple ways to the same scene. Following that, we had our 3rd week, which was the introduction of sequential storytelling. Kenny, being a visual development artist with a focus on keyframing, he's very big into film language with directors and production designers, and he will focus on creating a space and setting cameras within it, showing you a progression of that world. So it's meant to stretch your ability to cement an actual location and have different shots and still get an understanding that you are in the same place. So on that, after we did week 3, we continued into subsequent weeks where we prepped for our midterm, week 4 and 5. And for week 4, I thought, okay, I've always wanted to do a volleyball scene, but it was just too detailed. So after a week, I went ahead and started over, and I tried just sketching out raw ideas, seeing where I could take it, and refining it from there. Oddly enough, I was able to get some new comps out within a day that I was really happy with, as opposed to the week that I was just trying to really brute force my way through the volleyball idea. So you can see my time lapse going through my process of this project, the Call of the Void, I called it. Essentially, imagine like a Lovecraftian story, maybe similar in vein to the Netflix movie Blind Box, where one day all of the phones start ringing and people are kind of magically drawn to it. And when you answer it, you hear incomprehensible demons' voices that command you to either kill yourself or go crazy. And so our main character, Chloe, is deaf, so she can't hear the calls. She goes around and explores with her dog to discover the secret or a weakness behind these mysterious deathly calls. Cool idea, I really enjoyed doing that. So taking a bit of a break after week 5 in our midterm, we were tasked with doing color mastery studies. Essentially picking an artist or artists that we liked, trying to replicate their work entirely, and then apply the kinds of colors that we saw to our own originals. So here are some studies that I did for that week. And after that point, we go into week 6, and that was kind of the home stretch. Week 6 had us do 20 color compositions that would lead into, or week 7 actually. Week 7 had us do 20 color compositions that were going to lead into our development of our final project. We were tasked with pitching a world and an idea as if we were going to present it to a studio like Netflix. So I created 2 sets of world building ideas. One around Star Guardians, which originated as a riff off of Riot's Star Guardian skin costume, which in itself was a riff off of Sailor Moon. But I tried to take it into its own and imagine, so what if we've got an elvish civilization that is relatively urban, because our keyword was suburbs for the project. And they live on the top of mountain peaks miles high in the sky. So high that they touch space, they touch the stars. And their civilization has always been rooted in worshiping stars and interstellar travel, and they're kind of celestial beings. But they've modernized to a point as well. In my first final image, it starts with the encounter of a group of teenagers chasing after a celestial comet. But we discover that our main character finds the location where the comet went, and it wasn't a comet, it was a star guardian praying at a star altar, or a sun altar. I thought that was really fun. It was a good way to showcase some designing. And for the third image, I went with a closer, intimate shot of the same set, but with the Star Guardian granting our main character powers. And you can see some of my preliminary ideas before I turned it into a larger, more dynamic scene. A lot of these have a lot of adjustments made to them. It was definitely a back and forth. During this time, I was working with my peers and Kenny very intensely, so since we started this in week 7 with the color comps, we had the ability to go into week 8 with critique, have him pick our best ones, and then go back to the drawing board to detail those out and make them the best they could be. With the direction Kenny gave me, I felt like I needed to kind of pivot. So I actually made 2 different compositions that you see here that were different from my original color comps. And I think they were better for it. So after week 8, we still had week 9 and 10 to receive feedback and work through whatever struggles that we were having. And Kenny, in particular, was really forthright with helping us out. We had some late nights where we took the time to really iron out some of the wrinkles in our work. That's a particularly unique perk of Brainstorm outside of a class like CGMA, for example, is having what I find to be closer bonds with the instructors than you find elsewhere. But that's all of my work that I have to show. I also got permission and I really wanted to show the finals and some of the work from my peers. And so for the rest of this video, it's going to be a slideshow going through all of their fantastic work, and I really wanted to make sure that I showcase some of that. First up, we have Andrew Calica, and he's been going to Brainstorm classes for a while now. He was even doing a class at the same time, AD1, which is form language with Charles Lin, I believe. And for his idea, he was going to do like a tropical movie. It almost reminded me of like a Vikings, similar in tone to like How I Met Your Dragon. And I thought it was really cool. Antoine Decamp, or Decamp, I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. Antoine is very good. He has multiple skill sets with 3D and 2D. He's got a kind of traditionalist painting look, and he's trying to get into the Naughty Dog kind of realistic rendering space. My friend Brian Pitt, he and I have known each other for over a year, probably pushing 2 years close to this point, and we've been going through Brainstorm classes together now. This is our 2nd class together. Through this, he had some difficult challenges with things grasping for time, work coming up, but despite that, he managed to put out some great stuff. Jessica Wijaya, she really surprised me this term. I was so pleased to meet her. Every single thing that she did was just stellar. With the ideas behind it, the thought process, all of her execution is always just so pleasant. And if there's somebody that I could see working soon, it would definitely be her. Both Brian and Jessica were kind enough to hop on a call with me and sit around and chat about our finals and our thought process going through the class. So if you're interested in that, be sure to take a look out for it. In that, we also meet up with Kenny and get to chat with him for over an hour. It was a great time, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. Levi Park is a student at both, I believe, CDA, possibly. And since COVID took effect, he's been taking online courses. And he's got great ideas. I really liked this. It was kind of a nostalgia-based suburb, imagining a world where kids inhabited the fantastical elements of their lives. Ryan Wild definitely wants to get into game development art, you can tell. He was setting up first-person shooter scenes several times throughout the class, and I thought they were pretty cool. And last but not least is Skylar Blum, and he is actually an art director for a graphic design company where he designs things like t-shirts for clientele, of which included people like he shared with us Illenium, the music producer. So pretty cool. And great work, Skylar. And that wraps up all of the student work that we had from the class. All in all, if I were to wrap up, I would say that Brainstorm so far has been a really pleasant experience. It's been more than worth the money, and I think the connections made with the instructors in particular are what put Brainstorm a leg above other competitors. That being said, I do think that you shouldn't just take Brainstorm as your one and only option because it is more dependent on the instructor that you are taking it with rather than the school. For instance, Esther Wu has gone on and started her own online school, Visions Art School, where she and Scott Zenteno, who is another Brainstorm instructor alum, are working together to do different sorts of classes. I know Kathleen McAllister has also joined there. There's other places like the Workshop Academy, where Mike McCain is taught at, and Devin Katie Lee, amongst others. It's really a great time to get into learning art, and art education is only going to expand from here. If you found this useful, please let me know. I'd be happy to have a discussion. You can also chat with me and join along in my Discord, which is linked down in the description below. Again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.